Okay, I don't want to waste your time, so let's get right into it. I want to talk about my experience about dropping out of school and whether photographers and creative folk alike should go to school or drop out of school or whatever your situation may be. So, a little bit about my story. I got pretty good grades in high school and decided to go to university for a general science degree. Uh, Honestly, my classmates and other people, everybody is successful that I kind of wanted to follow, just sort of went to school. And I don't know why. I probably should have thought about it a little bit more. But anyways, I ended up at university studying science, and literally by midterms, a few weeks in, I knew that this was a very far off my path. So I decided to drop out of that and then move back in with my mom and start my photography business. Now, I was content creating and shooting and learning photography like a few months before then, and it was still a pretty big risk at the time to drop out, but I just knew that this was more along the trajectory that I wanted to go and not into this science and then get a PhD and then work overnight at some hospital. To be honest, like that's kind of what I saw at school. I was like, this is the future that awaits for me, or I can kind of do my own thing and follow my passions. So I moved back in with my mom and started shooting as much as I could, learning the craft a little bit more. I was posting on Instagram every day. It was awesome. And then actually a few months after that, COVID hit, and literally the whole world shut down, and I was stuck working at a grocery store, still wanting to shoot as much as I could, but obviously with the lockdowns, it made sourcing models and sourcing creative shoots and other stuff really difficult. And a lot of businesses at that time also didn't want to hire anybody. So it was really just a long a long circle to really get to where I'm at today. So about 4 or 5 years later, I'm now a full-time content creator, and I own my own photography business and then opened up my own studio as well. So I've definitely had a few years experience in this industry, so I kind of want to talk about what it was like doing this without education and just that whole story behind that. So realistically, if we go back a few years to high school, I really should have taken a gap year. I would totally suggest that if you are a little younger in high school, just take a year off after high school and figure out what you want to do and use that time to try new things. For me, I thought I was just like this hustler and I just wanted to like get on with my life. So that's why I ended up just going to school right away. But realistically, that is not at all like the best way to do it. I think it would be a really good tool to just take the time, volunteer, get some other jobs, and try whatever you can. So, assuming you want to be in the creative field, if you're a graphic designer, photographer, whatever it may be, you want to be a freelancer, I really don't think you need school directly to do what you want to do. That being said, you can go to school and then freelance afterwards, especially if your parents are going to pay for a bit of the school or something or help you out. If they're not going to help you out, then that is going to be a big debt that you're going to have to take on, or you're going to have to work your ass off in school to try and get out of school debt-free. Because the issue is after you graduate 4 years and you have debt, now you have to go get like a typical 9 to 5 to try and get yourself out of the debt just to play even. So now you're like 24 or 25 years old, out of debt, and now you're ready to freelance, but honestly, by that point, you're probably already too comfortable in your 9 to 5. So to me, it was like a little more risky to go that route and put myself through debt to what I wanted to do. Now, if you are a little younger as well and you're wondering, should I drop out of school or not? Let me be real with you. Dropping out of school is not an easier solution. It is way more difficult, actually. The reason is you drop back to your hometown and live with your parents because let's be real, you just started. So you're going to have to take a few months or years to build yourself living with your parents. Now, who are the other people that didn't go to school in your hometown? Probably stoners or people who don't have any ambition. That is not a good environment to surround yourself in, and you really have to be strong and confident in yourself and your own work ethic to be able to keep where you want to be going in mind and get yourself out of there. Because if you're just in your hometown with a bunch of stoners, it's really not going to be good. Now, your peers and classmates are going to be with other intellectual people studying in school, learning to grow and work on their future. So huge environmental change, and you need to be very prepared for that if you do drop out of school, because right now, unfortunately, it's still very uncommon to not go to school. So it really depends on the type of person you are, and you have to be super self-accountable and realize, okay, am I the type of person to be comfortable being independent and alone for long periods of time? Can I work and self-motivate by myself? Can I really put myself out there on social media and reach out to businesses and cold call and really put in the work when nothing else is getting handed back immediately? So all of these traits and all of these thoughts you should have before you actually decide to drop out of school or not, because it is a very lonely and difficult road when you do not go to school. However, the catch is you're going to be doing exactly what you want to be doing, and you're not wasting any time. So by the time everybody's done graduating, you're going to be doing exactly what you want to be doing, and you're going to be a few years into your career, whereas the other people are just going to go back to their parents' house and figure it out from there. So something to keep in mind. But for myself personally, I found that environmental change very difficult, and just something to keep in mind that I wasn't quite expecting. Now, another thing too is your parents and everybody are probably going to doubt you as well. If you have pretty uptight parents or uptight grandparents, they're not going to like the fact that you dropped out. And you're going to also have to be, again, very resilient to their opinions and others' opinions as well. And I'll be totally honest with you guys right now, like my dating life when I dropped out sucked. It was in the middle of COVID. I didn't go on a date for 2 years because literally I was just this stay-at-home photographer living with his mom. It was not a good look, guys. So realistically, it's everybody's gonna judge you, like straight up. It's not gonna be the most glamorous route. That being said, like everybody's different. Like that was just me. Like it took me a while to like figure out the ropes. You could even volunteer or do something else. You could work part-time somewhere as well, like at a cool like media house or something. Like take those opportunities if you can, get in the industry if you can. But my route personally, I was just freelancing and doing part-time jobs. So, you know, and then paired with COVID, that was just not ideal. But again, I was just really focused on my craft and I didn't really care about that at the time. I was just so tunnel vision on what I needed to do. But if you're not the one to handle that type of pressure from your parents, your grandparents, all your friends, etc., again, you might want to really consider that before you make any decisions. So that brings me to my next point is I think if I were to do everything again, I would try and find a mentor or somebody to work for in the industry that would have helped me a lot. I think a difficult thing for me was figuring it out all by myself. And it worked out in the end. I knew what I needed to do, but it made it a lot more difficult not knowing industry standards, just kind of like feeling it out as I go. So even invoicing and contracts and taxes and dealing with clients, dealing with bigger clients, smaller clients, all the problems that come with that, everything I was just sort of throwing myself into, which was sick. Honestly, at the time it was great, but looking back, I would have learned a lot more, a lot faster if I had a mentor or something like that. That being said, it might not be that easy for you. Everything is very gatekept as well, and it's not that easy to get those mentorships or partnerships, or even just connect with people that really are doing what you want to be doing, but just like a few years ahead. Don't force anything, but if you can, be open-minded to it. Trade your time for just their knowledge and experience. Education is not bad, but paying thousands of dollars for a degree that won't really get you anywhere is not the best. So just keep that in mind. You always need to be learning and reading books. So that brings me to my next point is you still have to educate yourself. So I found self-help books, reading, YouTube videos, other courses online. All of those resources helped me so much. And I honestly think it is essential because, like I said, education is still extremely important. It's just not worth, $40, $50, $100,000 depending on where you live. So you definitely also want to be prepared to read some books and do your education yourself and figure out as you go. I guess one last point too, and I think it's worth mentioning, what I find personally, and I think a lot of other people find difficult too, is the lack of routine. So if you do drop out of school, you're literally just entering your work life, the workforce, and your adult life, and not having a routine can be a little challenging at times because realistically it's just you, yourself, and I, like I was saying. So if you're not the type of person to really self-motivate, if you're going to stay up late and smoke weed or drink or party with friends a lot, and you're going to sleep in till like noon every day, it's not going to work out for you. You're going to have to really be particular with how much you're working and still keeping your routine as much as you can. All that being said too, if you live with your parents, like I had to pay my parents' rent as well. So I was working a part-time job, and then after I clocked out of my part-time job, I then started to work on my photography and shooting and social media. So honestly, that's just a realistic approach of what to expect if you do not choose to go to school and you still want to be successful. And yeah, that's just kind of how everything went for me. Just be really mindful of everything, of how, just be really mindful of how your life is going to change, what environments you're going to be in, how you're going to educate yourself afterwards, and everything like that. And then obviously, if you are a freelancer or you're starting your own business, you're still going to be on your own schedule. So you still got to be very self-accountable to wake up early, get your good habits in, and all of that. So it's just a very realistic video of how it might actually go if you don't choose to listen to everybody and choose the traditional route. Neither is bad or good. I think it really just depends on the person and depends on what kind of structure you need in your life, and of course what kind of goals you need in your life too. If you're going to be a doctor, you need a degree for that. If you want to be a lawyer, you're going to need a degree for that. So again, it depends on your goals, depends on the person, and overall, it's all fun in the end. Focus on your career, achieve a whole bunch of stuff. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, guys.